everyone. Good to see you. We are excited to have you here. We are going to be talking with Marina, looking at an innovation mindset. So in just a second, I will be sharing my screen. Constance joins in. Perfect. Hi, Marina. Yes, that was the little tricky.
Yeah. Are we
It was
live?
the other session that was starting, and it gives you this little piece.
Right. So I thought, okay, there we go.
Oh, all righty. So I'm going to ask the famous question. All right, wonderful. Everyone can see the screen. Perfect. So happy to have you here, Marina. We had a little discussion together, our mutual colleague, Chemo. So grateful to have you here talking about innovation mindset. And how that's important around, how do you get everyone involved, that it's not just innovation as a department. So great to have you here.
Right. Thank you so much, Liz. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you to you and the whole team for organizing this, and grateful to Kima for the invitation.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's funny. There's just something about the small world that is learning. So great to be a part of this world.
Absolutely. Yeah. So today we're going to discuss the innovation mindset and why is it such a critical must-have skill to not only survive but also thrive as individuals, but also as organizations, as individuals within our organization. So I'm ready to get started.
Wow, awesome.
So passion led us here. This whole event is probably a great example of innovation mindset. What do we do when we need to come together and find new ways to help the community and help individuals to grow? Passion led us here, but passion is not enough. We need to put a lot of hard work behind it. And as the organizing team would attest, a lot of great work has gone behind the scenes to bring this together. And that's a critical component of the innovation mindset. So let's go ahead and see, what is an innovation mindset? How do the experts define it? And before we do that, we're gonna start with our agenda for the day. So the why, the how, and the what. I'm stealing that right from Simon Sinek, who inspired us several years ago with his now classic TED Talk. So the why today is, why do you need to have an innovation mindset? Because of the volume, the velocity, and the complexity of change, the technological advancements that are happening, including AI and 5G, it's so critical. And of course, because of COVID-19, that has been the accelerant that has appended everything that we do, from the way we live, the way we learn, the way we work, everything. So it's so critical in times of unprecedented crisis to be able to not only survive and thrive. And so today we're going to talk about, that's our why. Our why is to find and build skills that will enable us to survive. The how is going to be what we're going to be discussing today. How can you build an innovation mindset? What are the several elements that you need to do that? And there are many elements out there. I'm distilling 5 that I'd like to share with you today. And then the what. What would be the result? What would be the result of having an innovation mindset? So with that, let's go ahead and see what it means to have an innovation mindset. So several scientific definitions out there. I pulled 2 from 2015, a few years ago. But George Couros says that the belief that abilities, intelligence, and talents are developed so that they lead to the creation of new and better ideas. So just like this whole event is the coming together of people that created this whole initiative with new and better ideas. And so I would call this event an innovation mindset result. So it all starts with the belief, though, the belief that we have the ability. If the team didn't believe that this would be possible, they probably would never come together and make it happen. So there's that that belief, that passion behind the ability that we want and we're able to do it, that we have the skills, the intelligence to do it, and the talent, the dexterity of being able to manipulate technology and have this event fully virtually. The other definition by Pereira, Leite, and Morales, again from 2015, talks about the propensity to innovate at an individual level to enable an entrepreneurial spirit to materialize ideas and add value to the organization. So the reason I created this slide, and I wanted to bring these two elements in, is because there is the personal element of building an innovation mindset for ourselves within us. But then there is the community element, the organizational element, where we need to bring that innovation mindset to the organization to benefit not only ourselves, but also our teams, our community, and of course, our organization. So let's go to the next slide, please. This is a great visual from Michael Dougherty, again, 2015. So it seems like it was a seminal year for innovation mindset. But he did put together the innovation mindset model. And what I like about this model is it's the simplicity, but also the complexity behind it. On the x-axis, he talks about the depth of knowledge. So how much time, how knowledgeable do we become across time? And on the y-axis, he talks about clarity and conviction. How clear are we about our goal, and how convinced are we about this innovation mindset or innovation approach we're taking? So as you can see, there are 5 phases. You start with dreaming, and that's where you are completely convinced that you're going to make it happen. This is going to work. This is the most brilliant idea ever, and you're all pumped and ready to go. And then in the second phase, as time goes on, the challenges start popping up and failures, and then you start doubting your idea, and you start thinking, wow, maybe this was not such a good idea. Maybe I didn't think about all the elements that I had to think about. Maybe I didn't consider all the risks. But you're still plowing forward, and you've moved to the third phase, which is the make or break phase. That's the phase that Dougherty says differentiates the innovators from the dreamers. If you're a dreamer, you're most likely going to quit. A dreamer that doesn't plow forward doesn't become an innovator. So this is where the differentiation between quitting and persevering comes into play. And you can see that knowledge increases, but clarity and conviction are almost at zero. You're at that crucible. It's the point where you're faced with a wall, and you cannot see any other solutions, but you decide to keep persevering. And then this miracle happens of transformation, where you move into the 5th phase. You're transforming. Knowledge is still growing, and also clarity and conviction start growing, and you see that upward sloping curve from the V. We're on the we can't go any lower from here. The only way to go is up. So transformation is the prelude to championing, where you're actually wiser. You've managed to make it happen. The innovation, the innovative idea has taken root, and you're actually able to scale and make it a valuable element to your organization. So this is a great chart. We're going to come back to it at the end of the discussion. So let's go to the next slide, please. So in thinking about all the different elements, I went to my library, virtual and physical. I'm one of those people who still has books that I pull out and review and underline, but also of course, the richness of everything that's available in our fingertips. So I looked at some of the classic books: Innovation Leadership, The Innovator's DNA, Creativity Inc., The Innovator's Way, Loonshots, I went back to some favorite TED Talks, listened to some episodes from Trailblazers by Walter Isaacson, and of course, Guy Raj, How I Built This. And then I reviewed some reports, recent reports from last year and this year that McKinsey, Harvard Business Review, MIT, Center for Creative Leadership put together, and also two of our very own TEDx DAU that we've produced the last couple of years for some great insights on what are the different elements of building an innovation mindset. And now we're focusing on the individual. How do you actually build that, and what are the different elements? And from all this and all this research, which I have to couch by saying it is not exhaustive. There are probably other great books out there that you recognize that are not on this list. So I encourage you to put them on in the chat. But I looked at all of these elements, and I distilled 5 key components of how to build an innovation mindset. And the first one is you have to create a growth mindset. That ties back to the definition we saw of what's an innovation mindset. It's a mindset. So a mindset is a set of beliefs. It's a propensity of thought. It's a way of thinking. So Carol Dweck, a few years ago, did a classic now and fundamental research and shared it in her book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, that I shared here, and talked to us about the difference between the two mindsets. And we have the fixed mindset. So you can see on the chart on the left-hand side of the slide, you have the fixed mindset, which actually looks at challenges as things, as obstacles, as things to avoid. Whereas the growth mindset thinks of challenges as opportunities. Give me a challenge and I find an opportunity and I'll find a way around it or through it. The two mindsets are not mutually exclusive. Most of us have elements of the two mindsets, but what Carol Dweck tells us is that we need to be focusing on building more and strengthening more our growth mindset. Because with a growth mindset, you're actually taking criticism, you're learning from it, you're embracing failure, you're embracing good failure, you're learning from it, and you're happy with the success of others. And then you're bringing all that together, and that gives you what Carol calls free will. And the free will, believe it or not, frees our mind and frees our way of thinking into being more open and more embracing of new opportunities and new initiatives and new silver linings. So growth mindset is a critical first component in building your innovation mindset. So let's go to the next step and see the next element that I distilled for us today. So that's connecting the dots. That's so critical. And a few years ago, I read one of Daniel Pink's older books, A Whole New Mind, which was transformational for me. It completely changed the way I'm thinking about being a generalist or being a specialist. And a couple of years ago, David Epstein came out with Range. You probably recognize Range because it's a much newer book. And in Range, Epstein talks about why generalists are going to triumph in a specialized world. And when I look at the concept of connecting the dots, I think of Range as the why, and the whole new mind is the how you're going to do it. How are you going to broaden your perspective? So connecting the dots is very critical because you want to be able to associate. You want to be able to look at different things across your industry or across different industries and think, how did others solve that particular problem that you're trying to solve? And you're able to find patterns that are not readily visible. That's what I mean by connecting the dots. It's connecting the dots around ideas. And I have to go back to that Stanford commencement, which is now a TED Talk that Steve Jobs gave, and he speaks specifically about the ability to connect the dots. It's an important skill in this innovation mindset, because innovation doesn't come out of the blue. It's not a eureka moment. You don't wake up one morning and you have this brilliant idea. It's a long road. Sometimes it's treacherous and lonely, and it's a slog, and it can take a long time. But your ability to connect the dots, and of course you're armed with the growth mindset that we saw earlier, will enable you to ask new questions to old problems. So the next element is about strengthening your network. So networking is very critical in being able to grow an innovation mindset. And this is also highlighted by Dyer, Gregerson, and Christensen in their book, The Innovator's DNA, the 5 traits. And in there, they specifically talk about networking. Networking is an ability to connect people with people and ideas. And so it's incredible what you can learn just by broadening your network. Erminia Ibarra, and I'm sharing her book here, has a very practical and actionable way in how you can actually build your network. And she talks about not only the breadth of the network, but also the depth and the diversity of it. You need to have a network. You need to reach out to people that you think differently from you, that are from different industries, that are from different geographies, because most likely they're going to bring a different perspective to the questions that we talked about earlier. So together with your network, you can start asking new questions, and then you can enhance your way of thinking because you can learn from others. Nowadays, with COVID being the accelerant, and with everything we do having transferred to online, I can't stress enough, this is not an endorsement, but it's a practical application of LinkedIn. It's been such a great medium to be able to connect with others and share ideas and talk with other thinkers and doers and connect, so that we can actually solve problems and find solutions. So I highly recommend engaging online and finding your tribe, but also finding people that are not, you wouldn't typically connect with, so that you can broaden your network and broaden your perspective. So far, we talked about having a growth mindset, being able to connect the dots by identifying the different patterns across industries or across your organization, across processes, and trying to connect those and bringing those in to your network, and sharing the ideas that you have, and even your inspiration. So all of the different elements build on each other. So when you come to the network, you need to be ready to offer value to them. So what value are you going to offer? Well, your ideas, the patterns that you found by connecting the dots, and also your growth mindset and the motivation and inspiration of the focus to plow forward. The next element is about storytelling. So you need to be able to tell the story, and there are so many great ways of doing that. We have TED Talks. I have to highlight one TED Talk, which is Nancy Duarte's TED Talk on what makes a great speech. And in there, she talks about how a great persuader actually highlights the tension between what is today and what could be. So your idea needs to go through this tension of what is today, what could be, 2 or 3 times, so that you can bring your audience together to take your call to action of what it is that you want them to do. In the context of innovation, this is where you're going to present your idea and pitch your idea, and you're going to talk about what problem we have today and what problem you're proposing and what solution you're proposing to the problem, so that you can help solve it. In the TED Talk, Nancy Duarte actually dug very deep in her research, and she was able to map the meandering of the talks, and you can actually see an actual meander of famous talks, including Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech, and Steve Jobs' introduction of the iPhone, and several other important talks. So it's an art and a science. So the art is being able to bring in the ethos, logos, and pathos that Aristotle taught us thousands of years ago. So ethos is the value of your character or your conviction. The pathos is the passion, the motivation that you bring. And then the logos is the data. What is the backup? What is the research? How are you backing up your assertion? So all these components are both an art and a science. And here I'm sharing Stephen Denning's book, The Leader's Guide to Storytelling. He started at the World Bank, and he was trying to persuade World Bank leaders about creating various programs around the world to improve the livelihoods of the less fortunate, including through education, water, or food. But he could see that those things were not, his talks were not resonating. And then he realized that if he personalized, and if he actually talked about the actual people, highlighted the experience of the people going through that challenge in the particular country, he could actually make that problem more clear and present. So he distills all of these learnings, and he actually wrote a book after that experience about storytelling. And it's a great way to hone in on your storytelling skills. Of course, other ways to practice public speaking and storytelling is through Toastmasters International. I can't highlight that enough. Like, again, not an endorsement, but a practical application. It's a great way to practice your skills. And of course, you can always reach out to your local TEDx event and see if you can become a TEDx speaker, and they can train you to do a TED Talk. So so far we've seen 4 elements. We've seen the growth mindset. We've seen the ability to connect the dots, broadening your network, and amplifying your storytelling. And the last element here is this commitment to continuous learning. I'm sharing here a chart you probably recognize from Josh Bersin. And I love this chart because he did a great job putting together the continuous learning approaches that come from the environment, from exposure, experience, and education. And you can see the different colors. It's color-coded, and on the disc here, from clockwise to counterclockwise, he lists in alphabetical order all the different learning experiences. So starting with after-action reports and going to blogs, and then to webcasts, events like this, and then ends with workshops. And you can actually see the different colors. So this is a great way to visualize what do we mean by continuous learning. We mean that learning never stops, and to be an innovative leader that has an innovative mindset, you need to be continuously learning so that you can re-energize your mind, but also replenish the ideas and find new patterns across the things that you're learning, and possibly generate brand new ideas that have never been explored before. So this is a very critical component, and it's also ties to what Simon Sinek shared with us recently with his latest book, The Infinite Game. And in this book, he talks about learning and growing and doing things and achieving as being part of an infinite game. It's also a mindset. You have to believe that there is abundance of ideas, there's abundance of opportunities, and abundance of also other innovators that you can connect with. So the combination of, I thought those two were complementary in this concept of embracing continuous learning, because again, it goes back to the mindset. And with that, let's go to the next slide that I mentioned, that we were going to revisit the chart that Doherty put together about the innovation mindset. This is not a one-to-one tie-in, the 5 elements and the 5 stages of the innovation mindset, but I think of the 5 elements that I shared with you as ways to counter or amplify that particular stage you're in. So when you're dreaming, focus a little bit more on your growth mindset, and that will prepare you when the doubting comes. Because if you have a growth mindset, then you'll be able to embrace the failure that's coming up, and inevitably it's coming up. And you'll be able to think about learning from others and learning from criticism. And so when you're in the doubting phase, that's where you need to go back to the drawing board and start thinking more about finding new patterns. Because if you're doubting your great big idea that you came up with, if you dig deeper, you can find additional patterns, most likely, and the connecting the dots element will help you do that. And so as we shift to the quitting or persevering, that's where you need to reach out to the network and share your ideas with them, so that you can find strength from the network, but also and also motivation. So they will likely, the wisdom of the crowd will likely help you think through and persevere and prevent you from quitting. And then, of course, in the transformation phase, you're almost ready to tell your story. So that's where the skill of storytelling will be critical, because you'll be able to tell the story of your innovation. How is it impacting your organization? How is it solving that problem that you're trying to address? And in applying it to your own self, how did you come out of your difficulty, and what solutions did you find? Storytelling will help you tell the story. And then, of course, the final phase with championing, that's where you're going to continuously learn, and you're going to come up with new ideas, and then you're going to, again, go through that same trajectory that Doherty put together for us. So with that, this concludes our discussion, and I would like to thank you for your attention. And I have not been able to pay attention to the chat, so I don't know, Liz, if we have any time to. We have a couple of minutes to look at the chat, or look at some of the questions.
So really, this piece about quitting or persevering, reaching out to the network and finding strength from the network and motivate. So really, I think that particularly as we've gone through this week, really experiencing our network and thinking through these things. So
fantastic.
Absolutely right on. Any questions to Marina? One thing that I would like to ask before we go out, I know there's a couple sessions. What has your experience been in your organization really about fostering the mindset? What are the things that you've seen has really helped or has inspired the people that you're working together with?
Definitely. So right now, I work for the Defense Acquisition University, and it's a great organization. We're going through this transformation, and a lot of the elements that I shared here are a lot of the things that we're thinking and talking about and applying within TAU. But I'm also on rotation to Naval X, which is the Department of the Navy's Innovation Cell, and that's a group of innovators that have come together to actually inspire the rest of the sailors and Marines at the Department of the Navy. So a big shout out to the Naval X team, because they are actually applying everything that I talked about here, and broadening the network, embracing a growth mindset, connecting the dots, connecting people with people, and connecting people with ideas, and making sure that when we hear of one team or command implementing an agile and having great responses and uptake, we make sure to connect them with other members across other teams. And so Naval X has built this tech bridge concept, which are small innovation ecosystems, not very small actually, but I would say, I think the word small was incorrect. They're core innovation ecosystems in different locations. There's 16 of them across the country that are leveraging the network and bringing together academia and industry and the Department of Defense and startups and traditional corporations to identify new, identify new solutions. And each of the tech bridges has a tech bridge director, and a lot of the elements we're discussing here is what they're exhibiting. These are the traits that these tech bridge directors are exhibiting in their work in bringing and building these innovation ecosystems.
And it's so important. And, it's funny, it's that aspect of co-creation of these different groups coming together. We were joking that we in HR love us a good Venn diagram. And then one of my old colleagues from supply chain said, no, we love it. I'm like, we all love it. But the aspect of how do we inspire and build upon, it's really that plurality of disciplines coming together to say, okay, and how can we newly combine, rethink, getting outside sometimes of our schools of thought is really important. So thank you so much, Marina. I wish you so much success, and I look forward to us continuing the discussions and co-creating. Love it.
Thank you so much, Liz, and thanks to everyone who made time to join us today. Take care, and again, congratulations for a great event.
Thank you so much, and I think we're all going to go and get a couple more books now.
There you go. Okay.
Thank you, Marina.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.